Yo, what's up? Mic check, 1 2 1 2. We are back once again. I'm your grateful, gracious, and humble host, Trey Turner, and I'm happy to be here for another episode. Look, you know what we do. We focus on the raw truth, accompany it with mind, body, and spiritual healing. And today, what we always do actually, we highlight the hustlers. We highlight the people with wisdom. We highlight the people who have insight, who can shed some knowledge and just give us some cool wisdom. You know what I mean? So 2020, I need a lot of healing because I don't know whether I'm gonna be Ted Turner or Nat Turner. But right now it's Trey Turner. And so without further ado, I have my next guest. This guy is a very humble man. I've always admired him and respected him ever since I was a youngin. He knew me since I was a youngin. Bodyguard, detective, top flight. My uncle, Keith Shepard. Welcome.
Hey,
How you doing, man? How you doing? Everything good?
Right, how's everything?
Oh man, it's good. I'm just here to start some new stuff,
Yes.
Be cool about it.
I must tell you, before we start,
Uh-huh.
how proud I am of you. This is really amazing.
Thank you.
And when you called me to asked me for
Yeah.
an interview, there was no doubt,
Appreciate that, man.
Yes.
That warms my heart. And with this show, like I said, we try to focus it on mind, body, and spiritual healing. So right off the bat, we're gonna start off with like a mental check-in. So how are you doing right now with everything that's going on? How you feeling?
Well, it's different. 2020 has been a different year. Of course, we started off with the loss of one of the greatest basketball players.
I still feel
Tragic.
Yeah.
And then you look at the COVID. And then during the COVID, we see that an African-American male get killed right in front of us while everyone is on social distancing and everyone is like quarantined. This is like live right there on television. So the mental check, it's a little tough right now because I fight to get 3 good days in a row. I may get 2 good days in there, but on the 3rd day, I'll just go into this like little, I don't feel like doing anything. And I understand. It has a lot to do with how things are going with this country right now.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people are feeling the same way. So that's why, we need somebody like you, a true OG, some guy with some wisdom. Let's take it back. Like tell us like where you grew up and how it started and everything.
Well, I grew up in the city of Newark.
Littleton Ave, right?
Littleton Avenue. Yeah, I must say Littleton Avenue is a famous street in the city of Newark because we've had some interesting people that came through Littleton Avenue. Right. Now, Littleton Avenue, the 161 Littleton Avenue was the Boys and Girls Clubs of Newark. And so many people came through this recreational facility. We've had doctors, lawyers, entertainers, professional basketball players. So Littleton Avenue is like a landmark of Newark that sticks out where some interesting people came through. Yeah.
Right. And tell us about growing up back then, because a lot of young men need guidance today. You know what I mean? It's a different world that we live in. So from what you observed back then when you were growing up as a young man versus what you see in manhood today, how has it changed? Right.
Well, first, I would like to go back to, I would like to take it back to my grade school years. My neighborhood was a diverse neighborhood. We had Italians, Hispanics, African Americans, all in one community.
And it was still like this post Newark riots, right? For a little
Yes.
bit? Okay.
Yes. And in fact, my kindergarten teacher was my next door neighbor.
Oh, that's crazy.
So it was such a blessing that, here it is. My mom, all she had to do was just dress me and take me right to the door, and then my kindergarten teacher would walk me to school. So I felt like, how can you be bad in class when you know your teacher is your neighbor? So I was under my best behavior, every day, and it was such a beautiful experience, And then not only that, in the community where we had, it was more like a village. It was a village where everyone looked out for each other. If you had a young kid acting up, the adult would check them. There were times that my mom would check other little children on the block, and it was like, that was it. Please don't tell my mother.
You get in trouble for that nowadays.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And we also had neighbors. I had an Italian woman. Her name was Miss Gazella. She lived across the street from me, and she was such a sweet lady. I remember when I probably was about 9, 10, and she invested in me. I guess she seen something in me that I didn't know I had, and she would invite me over her house and ask me to change her carpets, do her little labor work. And I wasn't expecting money or anything, but at the end of my work that she used to have me do, she used to have me a piece of pie, a piece of cake there.
Yeah.
And she would put the cake on the table, and I would sit there, and she would like, eat. And and that was my reward. And I was so happy to do that. So to answer your question, the neighborhoods that we lived in the 70s, in the early 80s, were more like a village until we had major issues dealing with drugs, heroin, crack. When those issues came into our community, that pretty much destroyed that whole. It actually destroyed the love of a community. It made people desperate, and it also made people frustrated. Because it's almost like when you're on a hamster wheel, and you're constantly just rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling. So to answer, I hope I answered your question there.
Yeah,
okay.
Right. Yeah, and the difference, definitely.
Okay.
And when you saw that take place, how did law enforcement handle it? And then you eventually became a cop and a detective. So how did that kind of like inspire you, or did it deter you away from it?
Well, I got a job at 18 years old. I came home from college. I got a job at 18, and I was a store detective.
Wait, we gotta find, what's a store detective?
You know what a store detective is. A store detective is that person that'll follow you around.
Right. Okay.
In the department store to make sure you don't steal.
Okay. Yeah.
So I got a job for a chain of ShopRites. In fact, one of the stores that I work for is right down the street here in Little Ferry.
Okay.
And most of these stores were like on the outskirts of New York, Jersey City, Hoboken, Richfield. And while working as a store detective, I just felt like, wow, I can do this. And and as a store detective, it's a position where right now today they call it loss prevention.
Yeah. Because
your job is to prevent a loss. And I remember how I got into, now here it is, I'm 18, 19, and I'm detaining people at 18 and 19. Yeah. And all I had was a little Cracker Jack badge and handcuffs.
You got a whistle too?
No whistle. But I had a badge and handcuffs. And it just took so much, as I look back at that now, it just took so much heart to actually approach someone that you don't know if they're armed, or you don't know if they know that you know that they have a warrant for a murder or something like that. So as I would approach this person, I would immediately begin my de-escalation process. And the way I would do that was I would have my badge in my hand and I would speak in a soft tone. Excuse me, ma'am. I'm the store detective. Can you please come with me? And that helped me. In when I decided to become a cop, it helped me because here it is. I'm detaining people in the supermarket for stealing. So now as a cop, when I have to approach someone, I don't have to pull my gun out because I've done that before. I've been in a position where I've detained people and didn't need a gun. It was just based on just constructive words, how you can instruct someone through your words. Like I said, I'm a store detective. Can you please come with me? And as a police officer, the same thing applied. As I approached someone that I needed to talk to, I gave them the utmost respect. And when you give someone respect, of course you expect that in return. But that's the ultimate way of handling it, because when you come in a de-escalated manner, most people will de-escalate with you. Because it's so important, because things could just blow up out of hand, just blow up out of proportion, and it can lead to tragedy.
Right. And now let's talk about the mindset too, because because there are people, there are cops who can approach you and they're just like, hey, you know what, we're going to do this calmly. But the fear, especially, I know for me, I got pulled over probably a week ago, right? And not even, it's just as a black man in your mind, you just know that this situation could always go left, right? And so in the back of your head, you're thinking, okay, I don't want to be reactionary. What kind of advice or words do you have to young black men in those situations where they may be provoked?
Well, I can honestly tell you, I feel the same way. When, I look at my rearview mirror and I see a cop car follow me through South Orange.
And you're a cop.
And I'm a retired police officer. So I can truly understand how you feel. So I would say, the best thing to do is to just less words. Less words. Less words is key. Because the less you speak, the less you have to have the dialogue. Now, if the officer is pulling me over for a signal, okay, now if that's what he want to pull me over for, and he tell me that he's pulling me over for that, okay, then I'm going to give you my driver's license, my registration, and insurance card.
Real side question. Is he supposed to tell you why he's pulling you over before he asked for that, or?
I made a practice of that.
Okay.
As a police officer, I did. Because, I know what I would want.
Right.
As a human being, I if someone's pulling me over, I would want that person to explain to me why you are pulling me over.
Right.
So my practice was that way. Say, I'm pulling you over because you ran that red light. Can I have your driver's license, registration, insurance card? But in some cases, you may have some people maybe just pulling you over because you're driving while black. So they're not going to give you an explanation. They're just going to say, give me your driver's license, registration, insurance card. And most times they may say, well, this car fit the description of a car that was in a robbery.
Yeah.
or this car fits a description of a vehicle that was involved in a crime.
I feel like they're learning ways to cover themselves,
Well, and that's PC. That's probable cause. So what the key to that whole first encounter is establishing probable cause. See, and that's what it has to happen. If there's no probable cause, then you have no right to pull me over.
Right, right.
So what they do is they create the probable cause. And trust me, when I'm pulled over, it's uncomfortable for me too. It's not a good feeling because here it is. I don't know what type of attitude this person may have. I don't know what's on his mind. I don't know what his intentions are. So I have to play it safe.
Right.
And sometimes people may take my size and they may feel intimidated by my size. So I have to always de-escalate. My job is to de-escalate and to stay de-escalated until I may have to escalate.
Right. And that from what I'm hearing, I feel like a lot of other police officers should have gone through what you went through, because it takes a lot of courage to detain someone without a gun. You know what I mean? And you get these cops, I guess they straight out the academy, they ready to bust, right? Ready
Yes.
to fight.
Yes.
But I assume you use some of those practices in your bodyguard life as well to, so tell us how you, by the way, you bodyguard who?
I bodyguard Miss Queen Latifah.
There you go. And you bodyguarded other celebrities before as well.
Well, I basically work for her.
Okay, cool.
She was the little girl next door to me.
Right.
Tell us about that. I've known her since she was 12. In fact, she used to date my little brother, Ross. And many times I had to go outside and take her off my brother. Get off my brother, Dana.
That's funny.
But she's an interesting person. Very, very, very sweet, humble, fine, good-hearted, good soul, full of light. A great person. And I'm totally blessed to be in the position that I am in. So it's a blessing. It's a humbling experience. I've always used the term humility breeds longevity. Because when you humble, God will give it to you for as long as you can bear. But when you think that this is not God's gift, that this is all you, He will reel that blessing right back in. And I've seen it. I've seen it happen to people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And wow, that's a very powerful message, because 25 for me this year has been a very humbling year for me. And I have like this insane thirst for knowledge, right? And in turn, it turned into like this insane thirst for wisdom. And I found myself like, so with wisdom, I guess it comes from experience, as they say, right? I found myself seeking the experience and the cheap thrills, putting myself in those positions, and I found out that wasn't wise. So what do you have to say to, young men when it comes to, seeking wisdom, anything like that?
Well, I can honestly say that, sometimes it's just, we just have to be still. I've learned to start meditating. I started off with 5 minutes. Now I'm up to 10 minutes that I meditate. And through meditation helps you triage your thoughts. What I mean by triage, meaning that it categorizes your thoughts in the position that's most important. Just like if you go to a hospital, or emergency room, and you may see the sign that say triage nurse.
Yeah, I've seen that before, yeah.
And you're just like, wow, what's a triage nurse? A triage nurse is that nurse that determines when you first come in whether you'll go first, or you'll go second, or you'll go last. So with meditation, it helps triage your thoughts of what's most important in your mind. And when you put these thoughts in the order that it need to be in, then it helps you not waste time on certain things that you don't really need to waste time on.
No.
Those things that's most important, those are the things that you make sure you work on. So this is how meditation help you as a human being. Just being still and those thoughts in your mind. And they will come with your eyes closed and in your thoughts. Those thoughts will come.
I once heard prayer is like asking the question, and meditation is getting the answer. Does it feel like that for you sometimes?
Yeah, it does. It does. And, I always tell people too that people think that someone someone invented Wi-Fi. No one invented. Wi-Fi is our direct connection to God. Just like Bluetooth. Bluetooth was been here. You know what I mean? We Bluetooth with God. You know what I mean?
Energy.
It's all energy. And sometimes it's the power of prayer. There's nothing more powerful than the power of prayer, because you connect with your Creator, and through this connection with your Creator, these are the times that you ask for blessings. These are the times that you ask for answers to your questions. So yeah, I believe that. I believe prayer is so important.
Absolutely.
And it's connected with and it's also connected with meditation. I believe that.
Absolutely. And I remember at my grandmother's funeral back in 2016. I had spoke or whatever, and you were coming out the funeral, and you pointed to me, and you was like, you need to tap into your spirituality. And for the longest, I didn't know what that meant, or I didn't. The way Kirk Franklin explains it, right? He says religion is like if you see someone drowning, right? It's yelling, "Hey, kick, swim, swim," and spirituality is actually jumping in to save that person. So define what spirituality is to you, and then how do you tap into it?
Spirituality is deep.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything deeper than the spirituality, because spirituality is who you are as a human being. I'm in tune with my spirituality because as a police officer, I've dealt with investigating murders. I was a homicide detective for 14 and a half years. And that helped enhance my spirituality, because I felt that I needed my spirituality to solve these cases. Because how that happened, why I felt that way is because when I arrive to a scene and I see a young man lifeless there, I tap into my spirituality and I speak to God and I say, Lord, help me with this. Help me with this, Lord. It's my responsibility to find out what happened to this young man or this young woman. Help me. Help give me the answers. Or I would say, give me the answers to this. Give me clues. Help me find the witnesses. Help me find whatever I need to put this person that's responsible for this act away. So that helped me tap into my spirituality right there, because I knew that my work was spiritual. And the encounters I had of dealing with death enhanced my spirit. Because we as individuals, we as human beings need to understand that you can be gone in an instant, a moment. I can leave here and be gone. Someone can knock me off the road and it'll be over. So knowing that you can be gone in an instant, you always have to tap into your spirituality for confirmation. And what I do is when I tap in, when I get confirmation, the first thing I do in the morning, I'm thankful.
Yeah.
I thank God for another day, because each day that you're here is a gift, truly. And I know that for a fact, because again, working, dealing with death. A person may be here yesterday, but may not be here tomorrow. Another thing is too, is when even as a homicide detective, sometimes you're on call overnight. And there were times that I would be on call from like 1 to 8 o'clock in the morning. And then when that phone call, you get that phone call at 7 o'clock or 6:30, that was pretty much indication that someone didn't wake up. And so we have to understand that when we go to sleep, our bodies go in sleep mode. Our heart rate drops, our blood sugar drops, and our blood pressure drops. And then it's amazing how the moment you open one eye, boom, things go right back to normal.
Right.
I mean, could you imagine that? Could you imagine that you're in sleep mode? Everything goes into sleep mode. And then just by the open of one eye, it kicks in. It kicks in just like that. So that's why it's a gift, because it don't have to go that way. It can go that way. It don't have to go back to level. It can go below level. And that, so sometimes people, they die in their sleep.
And that's the theme of the show is mind, body, and spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So now that you mentioned that, the body goes, the mind is calm. You know what I mean? It's in a sleep state. So what do you think? It's the spirit that wakes you up?
It's God that wake you up.
Yeah, right.
It's a gift.
That's fair.
It's a gift.
Right.
I truly believe that.
Right.
I truly believe that it's a gift. Each day that we're here is a gift.
Right. And one of the most important takeaways from what you just said, and you ask for the answers. You know what I mean? And certain cops, they start to feel as if they are God or whatever, or they put that person away. You know what I mean? So I think that's just like the ultimate difference in, a cop like you versus a cop who abuses their power. But let's get into this body part, man, because you've been a big guy. I see you always working out in the gym. How's your body feel? How you feeling? At this age?
Oh my God! I was born 9 pounds 15 ounces, brother. So
Right.
so it was pretty tough during this whole pandemic situation over the past 4 months. I gained 20 pounds, and then I wound up losing like 18 pounds. So that's not healthy. It's not healthy to gain so much weight and then you lose so much weight.
No.
So I guess that's part reason why I can't get 3 good days in there,
Yeah.
because it's been a struggle. It's been a battle, but I'm coming along.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 55 now, and I tell you, it's time waits for no one. So each moment that we have in this life, that we're supposed to enjoy it to the fullest.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking of time not waiting for anyone, I remember part of the reason why how I came up with this idea and kicked in. I remember, you used to always tell me and Mark when we were younger, y'all need to write a commercial or whatever, y'all need to do whatever. And the thing is, I always tell people, like, you can have the connection or whatever, but it's the discipline and that's going to get you there. You know what I mean? It's the discipline and the hard work. So what do you have to tell young men of this generation, who think they may be entitled to certain things?
Well, sometimes you have to put yourself in a position to be invested.
No.
You may not get that position that you really want, but there may be a position lower than what you want.
Right.
It may be a position in maintenance. in a corporation. Sometimes it's best to get yourself in the door. Because once you get yourself in the door, if you can get yourself in the door, show out. Show up and show out. And that's pretty much the story of my life. I've was able to get promoted to a homicide detective. And I didn't just say I'm a homicide detective. I proved that I was a homicide detective. Right. The way that I dealt with my cases. So the answer to your question is sometimes you just have to just get yourself in the door. If you can get in the door, and once you get yourself in the door, then you can make decisions on different levels you can go into. You can ask questions. Well, listen, how can I get this position? Well, it may take you to go to school here.
Right.
Or it may take you to become certified in this. Mm-hmm. And that's another thing. Certification is so important in this life. As you move through life, you have to certify yourself to make yourself available. Okay, I'm available because I'm certified in that position. So just don't put yourself in, well, okay, I got this job and you're not certified. And whatever it takes to get certified in that position, or whatever it takes for you to get certified in that position that you want, do it. No. And then that's your goal. You can aim for it. Absolutely. The sky's the limit, brother.
Absolutely. And y'all hear that? You know what I mean? Listen up. Uncle Keith, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you coming through. At the end of my podcast, I usually do the speed round game. So, are you ready for this?
Yes.
You think so?
Listen, brother. Listen, I was born ready, brother.
All right, here we go. Let me pull this up for you. And the gist of it is just, I'm going to give you two options, right? And you got to answer it as fast as you can off the top of your head. Favorite type of alcohol?
Red wine.
There you go. Money or love?
Love.
Favorite post-quarantine activity?
Playing cards with my granddaughter.
Night love. North Jersey or South Jersey?
North Jersey.
What brings you peace?
What brings me peace is knowing that my family is safe and everyone is okay. That brings me peace.
Absolutely. When I wake up, I
thank God.
What are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for God's blessings that He's given me throughout my 55 years of this life.
Absolutely. And would you rather have the ugly truth or a beautiful lie?
Give me the ugly truth.
There you go.
Give me the ugly truth.
There you go. Much respect, Uncle Keith. Thank you so much,
yes,
man,
sir,
for coming through.
Yes, sir.
Y'all heard him on the Smoke 2.0 podcast. Let's go. See you next week.